At 4:17 hours, 112 miles west of Luzon, a U.S. Navy EA-6B Prowler drone variant, callsign Raven 21, cruised silently at 41,000 feet. Its mission was simple: monitor electromagnetic activity near China's expanding naval footprint in the West Philippine Sea. The skies were calm. The sea was quiet. The drone's operators in California expected another routine surveillance flight, but then, at 04:23 hours, the unthinkable happened. Without warning, a Chinese destroyer activated a high-energy laser system and aimed it directly at the American drone. No missile launch, no radar lock, no warning. Just a beam of invisible heat slicing through the atmosphere. This wasn't a test. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate attack. And within seconds, the situation spiraled into a crisis that nearly triggered a US-China military clash. The first signs of trouble. In the Prowler drone's sensor logs, the first anomaly appeared as a faint shimmer across the wing-mounted camera. The imagery specialist in California frowned. "Hold up, what is that distortion?" Another operator leaned in. "That's thermal bloom. Something's heating the air around the drone." Moments later, the Prowler's thermal sensors lit up. External IR signature detected source, surface-based laser. The room froze. The mission commander muttered, "No way, they're lacing us." A surface-based laser attack is one of the most hostile escalatory actions possible. It means no warning, no provocation, and no deniability. This was a Chinese destroyer deliberately targeting US military equipment. The mission commander slammed the table. "Who is firing a laser at my drone?" The answer came seconds later. The Chinese destroyer reveals itself. At 04:25 hours, the Prowler's downward-looking camera captured the ship responsible, a Chinese Type 055 Renhai-class destroyer, one of the PLA Navy's most powerful warships, and mounted on its forward deck was the unmistakable profile of China's experimental 100 to 300 kilowatt naval laser weapon. The Prowler registered more thermal spikes. The laser intensified. The left wingtip began glowing bright white in infrared. The operator shouted, "They're burning the drone's wing. If they keep that up, we're gonna lose lift." The mission commander snapped, "Evasive pattern beta. Turn that drone now." The Prowler banked sharply to the right, struggling as the laser heated its sensors, wing surfaces and left control surfaces. Static filled the telemetry feed. Electronics began to fail. A drone built for electronic warfare was being melted out of the sky. But the Chinese destroyer wasn't finished. The laser tracked the turn, staying locked. The second laser hit 04:27 hours. The Prowler's camera feed flashed white, then red, then black. The mission screen went dark except for error messages. Gimbal overload, sensor failure, primary optics offline, control surface temperature critical. The drone's camera operator whispered, "They hit the optics. They're trying to blind the drone permanently." The mission commander grabbed the radio. "Send this to Indopacom now. China has engaged a US drone with high-energy laser fire." Within 45 seconds, the emergency signal reached multiple commands: US Pacific Fleet, Indo-Pacific Command, the Pentagon. The White House Situation Room, Washington, had just learned China fired a laser weapon at a US drone. The Prowler struggles to survive. The Prowler, half blind and overheating, attempted a sharp altitude climb to escape the laser's line of sight, but the destroyer adjusted its beam angle, keeping the drone illuminated. In the control room, the flight engineer shouted, "Left wing is at 700 degrees. She's gonna peel." If the drone lost its wing, it would spiral uncontrollably into the sea, a total loss. The commander yelled, "Execute thermal drop maneuver. Lose altitude fast." The Prowler dove hard. The sudden altitude drop forced the laser to momentarily lose lock. Smoke poured from the drone's wing. Then, a second laser spike hit the underside of the fuselage. The drone shook violently. Panels buckled. Warning lights flooded the screen. One operator shouted, "We're losing control." Another yelled, "They're targeting the fuel line." If the laser breached the fuel system, the drone would ignite instantly. The mission commander made the decision, forget the drone, save the intel. But he wasn't the only one making decisions. Because 400 miles away, a US destroyer picked up the attack. The US Navy detects the incident 04:33 hours. The Prowler's telemetry dropped to 42% integrity. The mission commander knew the drone wouldn't survive another laser burst. He shouted, "Emergency broadcast. Authority read." The emergency broadcast blast reached the USS William P. instantly. The captain looked at his operations officer and issued the order: launch the aircraft, arm them, send them in hot. The operations officer froze. "Sir, that's..." The captain cut him off. "China attacked us with a laser. We will respond." On the flight deck, US Navy MH-60R Seahawks spun up their rotors. F/A-18E Super Hornets from a nearby carrier strike group began redirecting mid-air. Meanwhile, the Type 055 destroyer continued lacing the Prowler. The drone was seconds from total failure. The Pacific was seconds from ignition. 4:34 hours. West Philippine Sea. The Prowler drone's left wing was scorched nearly clean through. The underside of the fuselage glowed molten orange under the continuous laser blast. Telemetry dropped 39%, 33%, 28%. The camera operator shouted, "We're losing all feeds." The drone's temperature alarms blared. Smoke trailed behind it. Altitude began dropping fast. If China kept the beam on target for another 30 seconds, the drone would disintegrate, and the US Navy was not about to let that happen. The US makes a decision. The drone's telemetry hit 12%. The mission commander shouted, "If we don't break the laser lock, now the drone is gone." The USS William P. transmitted a final ultimatum. Type 055 destroyer, cease laser fire. This is your final warning. Again, silence. The CIC of the US destroyer went still. Every operator looked to their captain. He nodded once. Neutralize that laser. Not sink the destroyer. Not attack the ship. Just destroy the laser system. But even that would send shockwaves through Beijing. The counterstrike begins. 0439 hours. 2 FA-18E. Super Hornets dove hard, locking onto the destroyer's forward deck. Falcon lead transmitted. Falcon 1 and 2, non-lethal strike. Target, laser emitter. The Hornets streaked downward, skimming the waves so close that the aircraft threw up white spray. The Chinese radar operator panicked. "American fighters are locking onto us." The captain shouted, "Raise CIWs, prepare to engage." The ship's 130mm close-in weapons system roared to life, rotating toward the incoming jets. But the US aircraft weren't firing missiles. They launched something else entirely. The anti-laser attack, 0440 hours. At less than 1,000 feet, the Hornets released 2 AGM-88 GAAR GMER anti-radiation missiles. Not explosive missiles, electronic killers, designated to hunt and destroy any hostile emitter like radar or high-powered lasers. The missiles locked onto the exact frequency of the Chinese laser. They screamed across the sky. The Chinese captain froze. "Impact incoming." He didn't finish the sentence. "The laser is destroyed." Boom! A blinding flash erupted across the Type 055's bow as both AARGM missiles struck the laser array. The explosion ripped the emitter from its mount. Shrapnel rained across the deck. The laser turret folded like crushed metal. Alarms wailed across the Chinese warship. Laser system destroyed. Forward deck damaged. Fire teams to station. The Chinese captain staggered from the shockwave. His vaunted anti-drone laser was gone. In less than 5 seconds, the US erased it from the ocean. The Prowler is saved. With the laser destroyed, the Prowler drone stabilized. Smoke still billowed from its wing. Cameras were blind. Sensors half dead. But it was alive. Raven 21, you're clear. Begin recovery route. Control staff cheered. The drone banked away from the conflict zone, guided by emergency controls. But the crisis was far from over. The Chinese destroyer retaliates. 0442 hours. Humiliated, the Chinese destroyer's captain snarled, "Prepare anti-ship missiles. Target the American destroyer." His executive officer shouted, "Sir, that will start a war." The captain ignored him. "Load the YJ-18s. Prepare to fire." Operators scrambled to obey. Missile hatches opened, fuel pumps activated, fire control radar locked onto the USS William P. The US destroyer detected it instantly. "Captain, China has locked missile guidance on us." The American CO didn't blink. Ready counterstrike, full battle posture, the sky fills with jets. 0443 hours. The FA-18S repositioned. The MH-60RS hovered for torpedo launch. The Prowler escaped. The Chinese destroyer's missiles prepared to ignite. Then, shadow fell over the sea. Something massive descended through the clouds. A voice transmitted calmly, "Viper Squadron online. This ends now. 4 US F-22 Raptors had arrived. The most lethal aircraft on Earth now hovered above a Chinese destroyer moments away from firing anti-ship missiles. The message to Beijing was unmistakable: one more hostile act, and America will turn this destroyer into scrap metal.